The notary looked at me like I was losing my mind. 300 pages of revoke power of attorney forms, each one stamped and witnessed. Her fingers traced the documents with growing concern. Ma'am, this is extensive. Are you absolutely certain about revoking all of these authorizations? I smiled the same smile I'd perfected at family dinners, charity events, and investment meetings where I was never actually invited to speak. Every single one. Especially the ones I never signed. Behind me, my phone buzzed with another call from David, the 23rd today. I let it go to voicemail, just like the others. He probably thought I was being emotional. He always did. What he didn't know was that I'd been planning this moment for 8 months. Ever since I discovered my signature had been buying cars, funding restaurants, and paying off gambling debts I'd never heard of. Ever since I realized I wasn't a wife, I was a human credit card with a convenient signature. The notary's pen felt heavy in my hand as I signed my real name, my actual signature, on forms that would finally make it mine again. Each stroke felt like taking a breath after drowning. My name is Malia. I'm 34, and I've finally learned the difference between being trusted and being used. The call came on a Tuesday morning while I was organizing David's closet, separating his networking clothes from his casual clothes, as if pretending to be successful required different costumes. Mrs. Chen Patterson, we need to discuss your overdue business loan payments. I stopped mid-fold. I'm sorry, what business loan? The loan for Patterson Family Ventures LLC. $65,000. You're listed as the primary guarantor. The shirt in my hands suddenly felt impossibly heavy. When was this loan taken out? March 15th. You co-signed electronically using your joint banking portal. March 15th. I'd been in Portland visiting my college roommate. David had said he was taking care of some paperwork while I was gone. Apparently, taking care meant identity theft. That evening, David came home with takeout from my favorite Thai place. He always did this when he felt guilty about something, brought peace offerings disguised as thoughtfulness. How was your day, babe? He asked, settling beside me on the couch. Interesting. I learned I'm apparently a business owner. His chopsticks paused halfway to his mouth. What do you mean? Patterson Family Ventures. Ring any bells? The silence stretched long enough for me to study his face. Not surprised, not confused, just calculating. Oh, that. It's just a formality. Dad's accountant said we needed an LLC for tax purposes. Your name was cleaner for the loan approval. Cleaner. Like I was a product with a good rating, not a person with rights. You forged my signature, David? I didn't forge anything. I used your banking login. It's practically the same thing. No, it's not practically the same thing. It's not even remotely the same thing. He sighed, the sound of someone dealing with an unreasonable child. Malia, don't be dramatic. We're married. What's mine is yours. What's yours is mine. That's how this works. That night, I opened my laptop and started researching. Not divorce lawyers, not yet. Identity theft attorneys. Because apparently, that's what I needed to understand first. I also opened a new bank account, not joint, not connected to anything David had access to, just mine. The first thing that had been truly mine in 4 years of marriage. When David found the statements 2 weeks later, he looked at me like I'd betrayed him. What's this about? Just organizing our finances better. You know how much I value cleanliness. He laughed and kissed my forehead. You're so responsible. That's why I married you. I nodded and smiled, but something inside me went silent. The kind of silent that remembers everything and forgives nothing. Patricia's 71st birthday party was everything she'd dreamed of: elegant, expensive, and entirely funded by what she called the family pot, which was fascinating, since most of that pot had come from my freelance design work over the past 3 years. The country club ballroom was perfect. 75 guests, open bar, live jazz trio. I'd coordinated every detail while David played the devoted son, accepting congratulations for his thoughtfulness in organizing such a beautiful event. I spent the evening managing the photographer, coordinating with the caterers, and making sure Patricia's friends had everything they needed. David's cousin Jennifer kept praising my natural hostess abilities, as if being invisible was a skill I'd developed rather than a role I'd been assigned. Then came the speeches. David stood first, microphone in hand, thanking everyone for coming. To celebrate his amazing mother, his brother Frank followed, sharing childhood memories and inside jokes. Patricia's sister spoke about family traditions and lasting bonds. Finally, Patricia herself took the microphone. I want to thank everyone who made tonight possible. My David, who worked so hard to arrange everything. My Michael, who flew in from Denver. My dear friend Margaret, who helped with the flowers. I waited, kept waiting. And of course, our sweet Malia, who handled all the logistics. She paused, reaching into her purse. In fact, I have something special for you, dear. She pulled out an envelope and handed it to me in front of 75 people. A little thank you for all your hard work. The envelope was elegant, cream-colored, with my name written in Patricia's careful script. I opened it while everyone watched, expecting maybe a gift card or a check for the hours I'd put in. It was empty, completely empty. The silence lasted exactly 3 seconds before Patricia laughed. Oh, silly me. I forgot to put the actual gift inside. But it's the thought that counts, right? The room erupted in laughter. Good-natured, harmless laughter. Everyone thought it was a charming mistake, a funny moment they'd remember fondly. I smiled and laughed along. Of course, it's perfect. But something curdled inside me. The kind of humiliation that tastes like metal and stays in your mouth for days. Later, I found the photos posted on Patricia's Facebook. Dozens of them. Beautiful. Family moments. Candid laughs. Group shots around the cake. I appeared in exactly 2 photos serving dessert in the background and holding the empty envelope while everyone laughed. The caption read, "Blessed to have such a wonderful family, and grateful for those who serve with such grace." Serve, not participate, not contribute. Serve. I liked the post, commented with a heart emoji. Then I screenshotted everything and saved it in a folder labeled documentation. That night, I called a lawyer, not David's golf buddy who'd helped with our house paperwork, a different lawyer, one who specialized in financial fraud and didn't know David existed. Her name was Maricela Key. She was expensive, thorough, and completely unimpressed by family politics. How long has this been going on? She asked. I showed her the folder I'd been building. 6 months of bank statements, loan documents, and forged signatures. I'm not sure. I only started paying attention recently. She was quiet for a long time. Mrs. Patterson, what exactly do you want to do about this? I thought about the empty envelope, the laughter, the word serve. I want to understand exactly what they've taken from me, and I want to know how to take it back. The certified mail arrived on a Thursday. My parents' address, but my name. I hadn't lived with them in 12 years, but somehow I was receiving legal documents there. Notice of default, final warning before legal action. My hands shook as I read. A loan for $15,000, taken out against my parents' house. My signature on the paperwork, my social security number, my credit history. But I had never signed anything related to my parents' house. Ever? I called my mother immediately. Mom, did you and Dad take out a loan recently? What? No, honey. Why would we do that? Because I'm holding a default notice with my name on it, tied to your house. The silence on the other end was deafening. Then, Malia, what's going on? I drove to my parents' house that evening. Dad was in his workshop. Mom was making dinner. And everything looked exactly like it had my entire childhood. Safe, stable, untouchable. Except it wasn't untouchable anymore. Show me the paperwork, Dad said quietly. I spread the documents across their kitchen table. The loan application, the property deed addendum, the payment schedule, all of it legitimate, all of it legal, all of it forged. David did this, I said, finally. Mom's face went pale. David? But why would he? Because he needed money, and he knew I'd never agree to put your house at risk. Dad stood up slowly. He was 72, retired from the post office, living on a fixed income. The idea that his house, the house he'd worked 30 years to pay off, was suddenly collateral for someone else's debt was devastating. How much do they want? He asked. $15,000, plus penalties and interest. $22,000 total. We don't have $22,000. I know, Dad. I know. Dad looked at me for a long moment. Then, you let this happen? The words hit like a physical blow. What? You married him. You gave him access to your accounts. You let him know enough about us to do this. Dad, I didn't. You didn't watch your own husband closely enough to know he was a thief. The kitchen went silent. Mom's hand flew to her mouth, but Dad wasn't wrong. I had let it happen. I had been so focused on being a good wife that I'd forgotten to be a careful person. You're right, I said quietly. I did let this happen. That night, I called Maricela. It's worse than we thought. He's been using my identity to secure loans against my parents' property. That's felony fraud, Malia. Multiple counts. What are my options? You could file criminal charges. You could pay the debt and sue for damages. Or, she paused, you could let me handle this strategically. What does that mean? It means we document everything. We secure your assets. We make sure David can't do any more damage. And then we wait for him to make a mistake. What kind of mistake? The kind that makes him vulnerable to exactly the same thing he's been doing to you. I looked around my parents' kitchen. The same table where I'd done homework as a kid. The same chairs where we'd had family dinners. The same home that was now at risk because my husband had treated my signature like his personal ATM. Do it, I said, all of it, every single piece. I want him to understand what it feels like to lose control of your own life. Maricela smiled. Now we're talking. The foreclosure notice appeared on a Tuesday. Not in our mailbox, those David checked religiously. Posted on the front door, visible to every neighbor like a scarlet letter made of legal paperwork. Notice of sheriff's sale residential property, our house. The house I'd helped design, helped decorate, helped pay for, going to auction in 30 days. I called David immediately. What the hell is this? Malia, calm down. I can explain. Explain what? That our house is being sold at auction? That I'm finding out from a notice taped to our front door? It's not that simple. The business loans, the investments, they're all tied together. We just need to restructure some things. David, I've never seen a single business document. I've never been to a single business meeting. There is no we in whatever this is. Look, I have a plan. My cousin Marcus has a development company. He's going to bid on the house, buy it back for us at a lower price. We'll save money and keep the house. I hung up and called Maricela. The house is going to auction, expected. David's been juggling payments for months. The interesting question is, who's going to buy it? He says his cousin will bid on it for them. Good, let him think that. What do you mean? I mean we're going to let Marcus bid, and then we're going to outbid him. With what money? With the money we recovered from the fraudulent loans, plus the assets we've secured, plus the line of credit we established in your real name, not the version David's been using. The auction was held on the courthouse steps on a rainy Thursday morning. I watched from across the street as David and Marcus arrived together, looking confident and conspiratorial. The bidding started at the outstanding debt amount, $47,000. Marcus raised his hand immediately. Then another bidder joined, a woman I didn't recognize, professionally dressed, carrying a briefcase. The price climbed steadily. Marcus kept bidding, but he was clearly getting nervous. David was whispering urgently in his ear, probably explaining why they needed to win. A $75,000. Marcus dropped out. David's face went white. The woman with the briefcase won at $78,000. Later, I learned her name was Rebecca Martinez. She was a real estate attorney working on behalf of an anonymous LLC. An LLC that I owned, that I had created, that I had funded with money recovered from David's fraudulent activities. David called me that evening, his voice shaking. Where are we supposed to live? I don't know, David. Where do people live when they lose their homes? This is insane. You can't just let our house get sold to strangers. Our house? David, according to the loan documents, I was never actually an owner. Just a guarantor. Remember? My name was just cleaner for the paperwork. The silence stretched for 30 seconds. Then, Malia, what have you done? I've learned to read the fine print. You should try it sometime. He hung up. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat in the living room, my living room, in the house I now own through an LLC he'd never heard of. The next morning, I had the locks changed, not out of spite, just out of practicality. After all, it was my house now, and I preferred to control who had access to my things. David's business partner called me at 6:47 a.m. on a Friday. I was having coffee in my kitchen, the kitchen in the house I'd bought back from my own marriage, when my phone rang. Malia? This is Jerry Rodriguez. I work with David. I know who you are, Jerry. Look, I'm sorry to bother you, but something's wrong with our accounts. Everything's frozen. David said you might know something about it. I took a sip of my coffee. That's strange. What kind of accounts? All of them. The business checking, the line of credit, even the petty cash account. The bank says there's some kind of hold on everything. Have you tried calling David? I did. His personal cards aren't working either. He's pretty upset. I imagine he would be. Malia, do you know what's happening? I looked out my kitchen window at the garden I'd planted 3 years ago. The roses were blooming beautifully. Jerry, have you ever read the fine print on a business partnership agreement? What? No, not really. Why? Because if you had, you'd know that when one partner commits financial fraud, the other partners can request an asset freeze to protect their interests. Financial fraud. What are you talking about? You should probably call your lawyer, Jerry. And you should probably do it soon. I hung up and finished my coffee. Then I got dressed and drove to the office I'd rented downtown. My graphic design business was growing quickly, and I had 3 client meetings that day. Around noon, David called. Malia, we need to talk. About what? About whatever you've done to our accounts. I can't access anything. I can't pay bills. I can't buy gas. I can't even get lunch. That sounds frustrating. This isn't a game, Malia. I have responsibilities. I have people depending on me. People depending on you? David, you've been funding your responsibilities with stolen money. Money stolen from me. Money stolen from my parents. Money stolen from your own business partners. I never stole anything. Everything I did was for our family. Our family? David, I found out about your gambling debts. I found out about the loans you took out to cover your losses. I found out about the credit cards you opened in my name. Our family was just a cover story for your addiction. The silence lasted so long, I thought he'd hung up. Then, how do you know about the gambling? Because I hired a forensic accountant. Because I've been documenting everything for months. Because I finally learned to pay attention to my own life. Malia, please. We can work this out. We can go to counseling. We can, David. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not hurt anymore. I'm just done. Done with what? Done with being your credit score. Done with being your excuse. Done with being invisible in my own life. That evening, I cooked myself dinner. A real dinner, with fresh ingredients and wine that I'd chosen myself. I ate at my kitchen table, reading a book I'd wanted to read for 2 years but never had time for. My phone rang 7 times. I let them all go to voicemail. Not because I was angry, but because I was finally, completely at peace. The divorce papers arrived on a Monday, hand-delivered by a processed server who looked apologetic. David was fighting back, finally. The petition was 37 pages of accusations, demands, and legal threats. He wanted spousal support. He wanted half of our assets. He wanted the house back. He wanted me to pay his legal fees. Most importantly, he wanted me to be held responsible for what he called malicious financial interference. I called Maricela immediately. He filed. Good. Now we can counter-sue. For what? Identity theft, financial fraud, forgery, conspiracy to commit fraud, and my personal favorite, intentional infliction of emotional distress. How much are we talking about? Based on the forensic analysis, $347,000 in direct damages, plus punitive damages, plus attorney fees, plus the cost of credit monitoring and identity restoration. I sat down slowly. Almost $500,000? That's what he cost you, Malia. Your credit, your peace of mind, your parents' financial security, your ability to trust your own signature. We're not just asking for money, we're asking for justice. The depositions were brutal. David's lawyer tried to paint me as a vindictive wife who'd destroyed her husband's business out of spite. My lawyer painted David as a career criminal who'd used his marriage as cover for financial fraud. The evidence was overwhelming. 43 forged signatures, 16 fraudulent loans, 7 unauthorized credit cards, 3 fake business entities, and a gambling problem that had cost our family over $200,000. David's mother, Patricia, took the stand on his behalf. Malia was always difficult about money. She never understood David's vision for the future. Mrs. Patterson, Maricela said calmly, "Are you aware that your son forged your daughter-in-law's signature on loan documents? I'm aware that marriages require compromise. Are you aware that he used her identity to secure loans against her parents' home? I'm aware that families help each other. Are you aware that what you're describing is a felony?" Patricia's face went pale. I don't understand legal terminology. Let me simplify. Your son committed crimes, multiple crimes, using his wife's identity. Are you saying you support criminal behavior? I'm saying I support my son, even when he's a criminal. David's lawyer objected, but the damage was done. Patricia's unconditional support made her look like an accomplice rather than a concerned mother. The judge was a woman in her 50s who'd clearly seen every variation of financial abuse. She listened to the testimony with the expression of someone who'd heard it all before and wasn't impressed by any of it. When she announced the verdict, her voice was steady and final. The court finds that Mr. Patterson engaged in systematic financial fraud against his wife, her family, and his business partners. The court awards Mrs. Patterson compensatory damages in the amount of $347,000, punitive damages in the amount of $150,000, and attorney fees in the amount of $73,000. David went pale. Patricia started crying. Jerry Rodriguez, who'd been watching from the gallery, quietly left the courtroom. The judge wasn't finished. Additionally, the court orders that Mr. Patterson surrender his passport and remain within the state pending investigation of potential criminal charges. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not vindication, not even relief. Just a quiet sense that something had finally been finished. Outside the courthouse, David tried to approach me. Malia, please, we need to talk. No, David, we really don't. I never meant for it to go this far. I was just trying to build something for us. You were trying to build something for you. I was just the credit score that made it possible. That's not true. I love you. I've always loved you. I looked at him for a long moment. This man I'd married, this man I'd trusted, this man who'd stolen my identity and my peace of mind and my parents' financial security. David, your name is going to be on a financial fraud registry for the next 7 years. Your credit is destroyed. Your business is gone. Your family is going to have to sell their house to pay the judgment. I know all of that. Good, because now you know what it feels like to lose control of your own life. I walked away, not angry, not vindictive, not even particularly satisfied, just finished. The investigator called on a Tuesday, 6 months after the divorce was finalized. Mrs. Chen, I'm calling on behalf of David Patterson. He's looking for your current contact information. I was in my new office, reviewing designs for a nonprofit's rebranding campaign. My business was thriving, my credit was rebuilt, and my real name was on everything I owned. I'm sorry, but I don't provide personal information to third parties. Ma'am, I understand your concern, but Mr. Patterson just wants to apologize. He's been through some difficult times, and he's hoping to make amends. Has he now? Yes, ma'am. He's been in therapy. He's joined a support group for gambling addiction, and he's working to rebuild his life. I looked out my office window at the city below. Somewhere out there, David was trying to put his life back together. Somewhere out there, he was probably telling people about his crazy ex-wife who'd overreacted to some financial misunderstandings. Sir, can I ask you something? Of course. In your investigation, did you discover why Mr. Patterson is looking for me? A pause. I'm not sure I understand. I mean, did he hire you because he misses me? Or because he needs something from me? A longer pause. I think he may have some legal questions. Legal questions about what? About the judgment, about the financial arrangements. I laughed, not bitterly, not angrily, just genuinely amused. He wants to know if there's any way to reduce what he owes me. I couldn't say for certain, but that's exactly what this is about. I hung up and went back to work. An hour later, I got a call from Maricela. Malia, I just got a call from David's lawyer. He wants to discuss a settlement. What kind of settlement? He's offering to pay $50,000 to satisfy the full judgment. The judgment is for $570,000. I know. I told him that. What did he say? He said, David doesn't have $570,000. He said, this is a good faith offer to resolve the matter. I was quiet for a long time. Then, Maricela, what happens if he can't pay? Then we garnish his wages. We put liens on his property. We make sure he can't hide assets or transfer money without us knowing about it. For how long? Until the judgment is satisfied. Could be 20 years, could be longer. And if he declares bankruptcy? Fraud judgments aren't dischargeable in bankruptcy. He'll owe this money until he pays it or dies. I thought about David, somewhere in the city, probably living with his mother, probably working some job he hated, probably spending every day knowing that a significant portion of his income would go to me for the rest of his life. Tell his lawyer no to the settlement, no to the settlement, no to any future settlements, no to any communication from David or his representatives. Are you sure? 50,000 is real money, Maricela. I don't want his money. I want his understanding. Understanding of what? Of what it feels like to have someone else control your financial future. Of what it feels like to work and know that your efforts belong to someone else. Of what it feels like to be invisible in your own life. He'll probably try to contact you again. Let him try. I've gotten very good at being unreachable. 6 months later, I donated the house I'd bought back to a nonprofit that helps victims of financial abuse. The same nonprofit I'd been working with, the same one that had helped me understand the scope of what David had done to me. I kept the judgment though, not because I needed the money, but because I needed David to remember. Every month, when a portion of his paycheck disappeared, every year, when he filed his taxes and saw the garnishment, every time he tried to buy a house or a car or anything significant and discovered that his credit was still destroyed, I wanted him to remember that actions have consequences, that signatures matter, that trust once broken can never be rebuilt. Last week, I got a letter forwarded from my old address. David's handwriting, shaky and desperate. He'd found out about the house donation. He wanted to know why I'd given away something worth so much money. I never read the letter, but I did. Keep the pen. If this reminded you of someone, maybe yourself, you're not alone. We don't have to scream to be heard. We just have to remember that our signatures belong to us.